All right, stand by. 10 seconds.
Ready, camera,
Count it.
Ready, camera,
And cue talent.
2, 1.
Roll for record.
Greetings and thanks so much for joining us. This is The Rundown, where we run down some of the big stories making news. I'm your host, John Phillips. Joining us from Dallas, Texas is our pal PJTV contributor Scott Ott. And right here in sunny Southern California, I've lived here my whole life. You'd figure I'd be able to pronounce my state. Stand-up comic Steven Cruiser. Now let's go to the top of the rundown. And since I'll be pronouncing a lot of Russian names, I'll need some extra time. I'll go first. Russian investigators believe the killing of opposition leader Boris Nemtsov was deliberate and are looking at possible motives. Some of them include an attempt to destabilize Russia, Islamic extremism, the conflict in the Ukraine, and for being one of Vladimir Putin's biggest critics. The 55-year-old was gunned down last week near the Kremlin. The killing happened just hours after a radio interview he gave in which he denounced Putin's policies, calling them mad and aggressive. And it's funny, Cruiser, because in Russia, getting shot 4 times is dying of natural causes. Yeah. So I don't know how many eyebrows are being raised there, but what do you make of this story?
I'm pretty sure it's Putin. They've got this whole narrative going over there that the Americans are somehow behind it, and he's selling that somehow. I don't know how. I don't know why we'd be behind it. But, you know, they're in there hosing down the crime scene off like a half an hour later. Like, somebody wanted to get this out of the way, somebody higher up. And I think if there's anything we've learned about Vladimir Putin, he doesn't like no.
He doesn't deal well with critics.
He's not comfortable with criticism, people saying no to him, countries getting in his way. So I think this seems pretty transparent. The conspiracy theories I think we're going Occam's razor on this one.
You know, Scott, a lot of people are binge watching House of Cards Season 3 right now. And the common refrain that you hear is that it's a realistic show with the exception of the fact that Frank Underwood, the main character, the president, actually kills people himself, puts hits out on people, and no politician is really that bloodthirsty. Things have moved on in 2015. You look at what's going on in Russia, that's the House of Cards at its best, where they're still whacking people who they don't like.
I mean, it's hard to imagine that, you know, practically in the shadow of the Kremlin, a guy could get gunned down. In one of the most secure locations in the entire country, somebody manages to have a gun that can fire off several shots and you know, apparently get away. And so, you know, it's a real stretch to imagine, not necessarily that Vladimir Putin ordered the hit, but it's one of those deals where, you know, over tea, he casually mentions that how nice it would be if Mr. Nemtsov wasn't around anymore. And somebody says, yes, comrade, how nice it would be. And that's it.
and then David Axelrod orders the hit. That's how it works in the Obama administration.
All right, this question before we move on to the next topic. I want a number from each one of you. United States Congress, if any Congress member, you ask the question to each one, if you could whack your biggest political foe, your biggest political enemy, and no one would know, no one would be able to tie it to you, you get one freebie, what % of them would actually take you up on the offer?
No one would know?
Yeah.
We'd be replacing Congress entirely the next day.
What % though do you think would actually do it?
Right now,
Give me a number.
I think we become such petty, easily offended people, I'd go as high as 90, easily right now.
Scott, what's your number?
You know, who knows what evil lurks in the minds of men, but I think Cruiser's probably accurate. We would be having midterm elections.
We couldn't get a quorum.
No.
All right, Cruiser, you're up next.
At the top of my rundown was Hillary Clinton exchanging national security information via Hotmail. The likely Democratic presidential candidate may have violated federal records laws by using a personal email account for all of her work messages. All of her emails were from a private account during her 4-year tenure at the State Department. Clinton recently handed over 55,000 pages of emails to the State Department to comply with record-keeping practices. A spokesperson for Clinton declined to say why she chose to conduct government business from her personal account. Even former Obama press secretary Robert Gibbs found the practice, quote, highly unusual. Gibbs says he can't think of a good reason why Clinton would use a personal email address while she was Secretary of State. John, here we go again. The Clintons, not known for a high regard for the law or the rule of law or anything else, do this kind of stuff all the time. And this is starting to bring back floods of memories from the 90s for me, this kind of thing here. She's the smartest woman in the world. There's no way that she didn't know that she was doing something wrong. This is going to get blamed on a low-level staffer somehow. But do you think that this has any legs because the New York Times brought it to light, or do you think that this is just another thing that will roll off because the Clintons are Teflon thus far and things like this?
Yes and no. No, I don't think she's going to face any kind of criminal prosecution, even though I would argue she did in fact break the law. Mm-hmm. But yes, in that it is a huge political problem for her, because if she is sending emails out on a non-secure email and she's discussing state business, that means the Russians could hack into it. That means the Chinese could hack into it. That means that Al-Qaeda or some international terrorist organization could hack into it. And they could use that information against the United States government. And I think it's yet another chip at the case that she's trying to build, that she is going to be the one that is most qualified to be president, because she's the only one with international experience. She's the only one that's traveled around meeting with foreign heads of state. She's the most competent person. She's the next one in line. When you look at something like this, it really chips away at the inevitability and at the competency test that she's trying to throw out there, claiming the Republicans don't meet it.
Scott, I'm going to play conspiracy theory with you now. Just this morning, Politico ran a lengthy story imagining a 2016 race without Hillary Clinton in it. And again, this original story came from the New York Times. Do you think that maybe some of the factions within the Democratic Party that don't believe she's inevitable, and there are some there, they've been there all along, the progressive wing, other people, do you think that there may be something working inside to try to push her out?
Absolutely, but she's making it easy on them, isn't she? Because it's not just a matter of her using a Hotmail account, for example. She actually set up this domain that is clintonemail.com. And if you go to whois.com and you run that clintonemail.com address, you'll find out that 8 days before she was sworn in as Secretary of State in 2009, this domain was established on January 13th, 2009, and she was sworn in January 21st. I believe she was just beginning her hearings, her confirmation hearings with the Senate about the time that this domain was set up. In addition, that domain was set up by a company called Perfect Privacy, for people who are really concerned with their online privacy. And beyond that, the 55,000 emails you said she turned over to the government, yes, she did. But that was after her staff had an opportunity to comb through them and release those emails that she wanted to release. The latest that we've heard on this is that the very server from where that email was hosted may have actually been in her house in Chappaqua.
I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you. This is my shocked face. Can everybody see my shocked face that the Clintons are trying to get away with it? Here's how conspiratorial I am on this. I think this is coming from Hillary. I think she's tired already, realizes she doesn't want to run, and the Clinton media machine is so good and so insidious that they're floating this.
Here's something, besides the fact that the New York Times and Politico are fanning this story, here's something to put in the back of your cap. She's getting no cover from the White House. Robert Gibbs, as you mentioned, went on the Today Show and said, I don't know why she did this. We trained her, we told her what she's supposed to do, and she didn't do what we said. Josh Earnest, the White House press secretary, effectively said the same thing.
Yes. It's get out your peace pipes, kid. Elizabeth Warren's coming to town.
There are deep divisions still between the Obamas.
The Clintons and Obama hate. I mean, if this were, they're always talking about a Republican civil war in the press. If they were really talking about the Civil War, they'd be talking about what's going on over with the Democrats, the Clintons, and the Obamas.
All right, Scott, what do you have for us?
Well, at the top of my rundown, Saturday Night Live did a heartwarming parody. Yes, I said heartwarming, of a Toyota Dad ad that took an ugly turn and infuriated a lot of people. Twitter blew up, as they say. Now, to set this up, the dad in this skit, played by Taran Killam, is dropping off his daughter, Dakota Johnson, who's apparently headed for college or something. Here now is the skit in its entirety.
Well, this is it. You need any help with your bag?
No, that's all right. I got it.
How about some walking around money?
Dad, it's okay.
Okay, just make sure to...
Call you when I get there? I know.
Yeah. You know, you could stay home, do another year of high school if you...
Very funny, Dad.
Well, I'll see you at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'll see you. Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You got it, kiddo. Looks like your ride's here. You be careful, okay?
Dad, it's just ISIS.
Take care of her. Death to America.
ISIS. We'll take it from here, Dad.
Now, some folks thought this stepped over the line, way over the line, but actor Taran Killam defended the skit. He tweeted, quote, "Proud of this. Freedom to mock is our greatest weapon. Thanks to the writers who asked not to be named by name, mentioned by name." Now, Cruiser, the Islamic State not only recruits, but rapes and kills young girls. You're a stand-up comedian who knows where the bounds of propriety lie. Did SNL go too far?
I don't think there is a too far in comedy. I think unless you're pushing envelopes, you shouldn't be trying to do comedy. And, you know, it always comes down to whether the piece is funny or not. This is good on so many levels because it parodies the original ad very well. It lampoons the fact that ISIS is using conventional social media methods and everything to recruit people. It's really lampooning on a variety of levels, and the timing of the thing. The way they milked it, and you're going, where's the laugh, where's the laugh, where's the laugh? And then the ISIS thing pulls up. It's good timing, too. So comedy is subjective, but I think this worked. And again, as I said earlier, we become too easily offended. I get sick of the public demands for apologies, and I'm glad that they're not backing down on this and not apologizing.
Now, John, I got to tell you, I not only laughed at this, what I consider to be a brilliant piece of satire, but I cried at the same time. I mean, I seriously think that this is an instant classic, and among the others who should be offended by this are the Obama administration and the seriousness with which they have handled ISIS. So, I went to Cruiser as the authority on comedy. So now I go to you, John Phillips, to tell me why I'm a sicko.
You're not a sicko. You've got a sense of humor. It was hilarious. They shouldn't apologize. They should be proud of this. And if you're looking at who this is making fun of, they're making fun of these suburban idiots that think that it's cool to go join ISIS overseas. And those people should be mocked, and they should be mocked endlessly. And furthermore, I think that when people say there's nothing funny about fill in the blank, I hate them all. Because there's comedy about everything. There's comedy about things that happen that are farcical. There's comedy about things that happen that are serious. Sometimes the worst events in life are events that need comedy to make us step away from the pain and get some levity to the situation. I mean, we make jokes about war. We make jokes about death. We make jokes about disease. Why should we not make jokes about ISIS? Why should terrorists be off the table? And
for a pure stand-up, not sketch example here, Richard Pryor, pioneered this kind of comedy where you're taking the darkest stuff in your life and making it funny. Pryor, and then a lot of comics after that, something I've tried to do all along in my career, is you make people laugh at stuff they don't want to laugh at. That's when you know you've got some real good comedy going. When people are going, oh, and they're almost, but if they don't cringe, if they start laughing before they cringe, it's a fine line to walk, but if you make them laugh before they cringe, you've done your job.
All right, that's going to do it for today's show. What do you think about the SNL skit? Are you as big of a fan of it as we are? Leave your comments in the comments section below. I'm John Phillips for Stephen Cruiser, joining me here in Los Angeles, and Scott Ott in the great state of Texas. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown.